Hello and good time of day. Well, yesterday stream was a trash fire, but today it seems that I got the settings properly working. My internet upload pipe seems to be a little small, but some tricks and seemingly it's going to be working now. We'll have to see. But anyways, on to things. Let me actually make sure I have the proper things. Okay. Bop. So, is my tracking working? 1 second. I think my camera's off center. Not that it matters too much, but gotta at least give it a try. Anyways, so I was trying to go through yesterday. Community Radio is a little Kickstarter game. I would not know how long ago it is. Kickstarters take forever to fulfill, as is their nature. But as it's put, a game of strangeness on airwaves. Oh yeah. Mine's technically higher than I am because I have no good place to put it, and it is a crappy webcam. So it is not. 1 second. I'm doing it live. I have a little weirdness going on with my tracking that is doing. Wait. There we go. Okay, let's drop that menu. Bop. Anyway, that made by Thought Crime Games, and skipping the fluff section at the start, which just kind of sets the mood. Community Radio is a dark comedy improvisational game that tells the story of an isolated and weird community. When playing this game, you alternate between playing Slice of Life as a member of the community and listening to the announcer and commentary on those scenes from local public radio hosts, who may or may not be completely beholden to a sinister and mysterious city council. Community Radio can entertain a group of 3 to 10 players for 1 to 3 hours. This game is inspired by shows that center around radio stations. Well, the game incorporates elements of the supernatural and homage to the hilarious and creepy podcast Welcome to Night Vale. The game also takes cues from inspirational shows like WKRP in Cincinnati, News Radio, Northern Exposure, and Pump Up the Volume. Any place where dysfunctional antics play out around a radio station is great fodder for source material in this game. So, yeah. It wears it on its sleeve. And also, I'm going to bring this up because I only know because I know. How do you pronounce this word? I'm not even going to guess at its origin, but yeah, you have to have seen it to know what it is. At least it isn't some Polish words. But anyways, it does say right on the can that this is inspired by Night Vale. But yes, so let's go through this. It can do other things. I'm not familiar with the other shows except for maybe the movie Pontypool. I think that's what it was. The zombie one at a radio station. That would be a comparable one that I would think of. But yeah, I have not seen the other ones. But the game itself is a little weird. It's non-standard. I wouldn't. It's not even like Fiasco where Arkansas. Yeah, it's one of those. So the game centers around. Let me do a little bit of drawing on this. You have your radio host. He does all the radio host things. And then you're supposed to have your other players, which are, let's go with yellow today. The Dark Evil console, as well as the civvies living their normal life. They effectively play two groups. And I'll get into rules on it. I've looked over it a little bit. I haven't gone too deep. Council. Okay. So there's an actual divide here. Unless the radio host is round robin, from what I remember it isn't, but... Whoops. Anyways. The game does have dice, but only because it does have some tables to roll on, which is a good thing. But, yeah, you have your host. You have your community members, which are going to alternate between playing the console and the community. You have a copy of the game. You have a copy of a worksheet, which I will get into a little bit. And they want this, which is very much Night Vale. They want something to play music, because they want to give people a little bit of time between little rounds. But, yes. So anyways, it gives a little bit of what your persona is supposed to be for the host, what your radio voice is supposed to be, and how is your persona going to change over the night? Is it going to get more into it? Is it going to get more radical? Is it going to get more whatever? In the community, everyone is on the console, and nobody's on the console. Anyways, it then goes through a bunch of stations, which I'm going to skip for right now. Yep. And finally, it'll get into the cycle, which is the main meat of the game. Well, it also gives a startup. So, let me open a new page. The game effectively has 3 phases, as any good 3-part act does. You have evening, or dusk. I will put that up there to give myself room in a minute. And I'll just use... Oh, that's why. I was confused. Evening. And then you have... Helps if I undo that. So this is literally a 3-part play. It also limits shenanigans on it and all. So dusk, as it's put, is to give it, flavor to the event. You have your event, you're talking about it. Evening is related to asking questions and motivation. Question, motivation about the event. Let's just make this a lesser font. There we go. And midnight is just closing it up. It doesn't have to resolve anything. Final question, conflict about the event. And they go as you expect. Here, and then here. So these are three main bumpers on how you play. I'm a little bouncing around in here because, yeah, there it is. So another thing on there is that as a group, you're supposed to pick out some central figures on this. Because, you know, you always have to have the character you follow around or the major character that is in, they called it the slice of life things. That is related to that because usually, as in Night Vale, it's been a while though, you have to make sure that there's a story going on and that things generally relate to each other. You don't have like random off tangents unless it's part of a larger narrative, but this is meant to be self-contained. And it's effectively has to say the central figure has to have plot armor because it's expected to hit the end and interact with the key cycles. So anyways, on to playing. So between each of these like cycles, you're supposed to have a little bit of a bumper, and that's like you play like the weather or something. I will bounce back to that. It's not the best laid out book in my opinion for finding rules. Like I think all the radio stations should have been at the back instead of an example in the middle so that you can just like look at all the rules at once. But game books, they do their best. 1080, 1080, sure. So as it's listed out, and I will just do this in text going horizontally, you have dusk, standard, standard, dusk, standard, standard, midnight. Let's pick, we can make that a bit bigger. And the dusk, whoop, sorry, that was supposed to be evening, not dusk. Not that it matters too much. I'm just hashing things out right now. So as the proper play of the game, I can't spell, doesn't matter. These are the host playing. And these generally are the console, or the host can probably get involved because, you know, needs to do something. Doing a slice of life. So, slice. I'll put that there. Slice. Host common. Host. Host. And as this is very improv, like, the rules don't matter, neither do the points. So that's the basic framework. I will bounce back to what they said at the beginning. Okay, here we go. Yeah, basically the host establishes weird facts about the community, gives weather report, traffic report, decrees from the console during play. The host advances the narrative of the show by filling gaps from the slice of life scenes the other players enact. The host, commentator, and co-commentator feeding off what the other players create in the scenes to write in their console degrees. And I will get to that in a minute. The other players play the console and the community. They're both at the same time. Every player gets 3 decrees per game before a broadcast. Players add the decrees to a pile. The host shuffles the pile and picks a degree and must incorporate it into the broadcast. do, and I'm going to assume that means like every main part of it, but on to cycles. Players take turns in cycles. In a cycle, there is one slice of life scene followed by a broadcast. A slice of life scene lets community members act out a scene showing life in a town, then later making decrees as members of the council. The host then follows slice of life scene with a broadcast where they report on what just happened and announce a randomly selected decree from the council to announce. A brief session of community radio is one cycle per player. For longer sessions, add more cycles per player. Every 3 cycles, consider changing host. Who knows what happens? They could have done to offend the console. If you play with over 10 people, it'll be longer. So, okay, I guess you can switch out the host, and it's sort of there for, keeping things interesting. But the decrees were kind of interesting to me, if only because you settle on your radio station. And the radio stations come pre-flavored. And then, like, it has, like, what the town is and all that, and, like, members of it, which I'll get to in a second. So, players write out the decrees, and they're supposed to be as zany as possible and somehow incorporated, because this is ultimately not role-playing so much as it is improv, which follow different rules as far as things go. A typical session of D&D would not survive proper improv because it will just go off the rails as improv is meant to do. Let me put that here. And these are slipped in at the end of Slice of Life. That was my main question of where these go in, but every end is at the end of every Slice of Life, there is another broadcast that is not one of the main event ones that is supposed to push along the story. So, I'm just going to put it here, randomness, for later notes. Yeah. So, another thing in here is that these segments are timed. They're supposed to be like 2 minutes each. Then you have like a little bit of music to write decrees, and then you put them into a pile, and then you pull them out. I assume that, like they said, they put all the decrees at the start, but I would assume you add more as you go along. Otherwise, these are kind of lagging behind. I'm not going to read the entire book verbatim, but let me just go back into here a little bit. Okay, yeah, it is. When every scene is done, you will make a decree. That's usually the host plays music, people write their decrees, the song finishes, hand decrees over, move on to it. As an example, no aliens in commercial zones. Another one is aliens visiting the town are not permitted to eat Earth food. Another decree is all aliens visiting the town must leave with at least one abductee. When they're all written, the decrees place them in a pile and shuffle them up. Decrees can be related to slice of life scenes, most recently played, but the console recommends that its members feel free to make any declaration that will improve the town and not simply react to current events. So it's not supposed to be too reactive, but it's supposed to move things forward. Like, this could be an oracle system, but I will get to that. Here we go. The broadcast scenes which happen after every slice of life, as I said, traffic reports, something else. There is a table for this, which has things that come up later, but they're vaguely Mad Lib. So, Devil Inside is one of them. In place of interest, an innocent person reveals itself as terror. The people react in a mood manner. And these are all put in there for inspiration. So that is the main engine of the game that is actually, game-like. But anyways, Each broadcast will have a station bumper, so that'd be a thing to add. Community news, a radio segment that comes from the table over there, and the city council announcements in order to modify things going on. So that's basically it in a nutshell. You choose your host. You choose one of the radio stations, which I suppose I should get into. Start a game of community radio immediately. Choose one of the stations with pre-populated elements to get you going. The W in the call sign are weird stations. Focus more on weird and oddities. The stations with more these stations have more comedic and lighthearted tones. The stations with K in their call sign are creepy stations, which have more sinister themes. So just an example, Ways, a city of paths and winding roads. W Pet, humans and their powerful familiars learn tough lessons of true equal partnership by trial and error. Cash, a city whose main industry revolves around a haunted crematorium contents with the nightmares that rise from the ashes. Collab, a research institute that probes the limits of reality itself. Now, each of these, as I mentioned before, let's put a section over here just so we have it. Now, this is slapdash as possible, but what else do I do? Radio segment. Ad-lib. At place of interest. The terror. Moods. They are unironically like that. But each of these stations has an inbuilt bit of it, so let me just pick one at random. KCHM. Songs from the good times. We lost so much that day. Our homes, our jobs, our families, all shattered and scattered in sickly brown that emanates from the exploding factory. A haze of death and confusion. Who knew it would spread so fast, so far? Today, though, we have returned. The government has given a all clear, and we must trust them because we have nowhere else to go. The echoes of the past still surround us, but we will rebuild. We will renew. We will not forget. So basically, dead town. Council persona, the emergency evacuation group, spends lots of time on their time, a lot of their energy in a futile event to soothe and help people, while some of the worst tragedies are yet to come. The decrees are often too little or too late, regardless. They are often both. They often offer help that doesn't come or is unsuited to the challenges. So, as I said, the Mad Libs are the main part of this. They have the Innocence, which is a D6, like, for instance, a Lucky Survivor, an Urban Explorer. Places, the Landfill. Strange Items. Redacted Documents. Mutated Vermin. Terrors. I'm not going to pronounce it. Chemicals. Fixers. The Whisperers. Moods. Haunted. Deja vu, psychedelic, and hosts, which I guess is what you can roll to get on there. Suddy, explosive, explains away any odd events. Ghost whisperer, sees dead people. So let me go to one of the weird ones that isn't a wall of text. Okay, there we go. Ways, as I brought up before, community sketch. This town finds the lost in its labyrinth streets and the forest that weaves in and out through it. They come and wander. They look for the way out. They look for the way in. We know the way that they seek, the way that you seek. Some call this a maze. That's true, but I prefer to think of it as a test. We test our resolve, our wits, our resourcefulness. We forge ourselves into better people through the trial. That said, I would love it if the test would end. And the council persona, the Golden Compass, organizes escaped attempts from the maze merged with the town and its exits. Their decrees often point people at possible locations or items that can help the community leave this place once and for all. It's rumored that there is a secret group within the Golden Compass that wants to keep the others trapped in a maze. So, in a sense, a cyclist without a bicycle, an office worker, moods, disoriented, hazy, decaying, strange items, a discarded map of a different city, a dowsing rod, places, spiral path that winds forever inward, a narrow alley that smells of the sea, a cul-de-sac path, terrors, the ground shifting and reshaping, ever-changing street signs, the roots grinding paths into dust. And the hosts, a long-forgotten author, the whisperer of the ways, the final architect. So, that in a nutshell is all the things going on in this. And how would I solofy this? Radio station. So, the main character in here kind of is the host explaining it. But as per general solo things, you have to have NPCs. And in this case, the NPCs are kind of... The host itself is literally not engaging in any of the things. It's more... Things happen. There's no actual, dice rolls, interaction that have pass or failure states. So I would have to say that this is more a journaling. I would have to go more towards a journaling game, which is not the quite type I go for, but I like this premise of this idea of watching a town have weird things happen from the days of listening to Night Vale. So, on that, how would the things that need to be figured out is starting situation. They kind of have a primed one on there. Subjects of slice of life. While there is tables for innocence and all that. Oh, okay. Yeah, also one thing. Okay, I kind of forgot about this. Key character. You got to remember, they're supposed to pick a key character, so I think that and the hosts are the ones that are the most defined through this. Generate key character. Whoop. Yeah. There we go. So we generate the key character. We have a sergeant situation. Oh, yeah. Way back in the days. Well, the key character is whoever the focus of the episode is on, besides the weirdness. Like, I can only think of a story about you and it explaining things of a person that's been going through it. But there's also things, it's just like, you have the slice of life ones, and the key character can be involved in them, or the key character is off doing something else. But the key character is referenced in there, or involved in there directly. like the numbers episode where they have the number station, and it keeps coming up throughout it, and like people's reactions to it in that. So it's somewhat reporting indirectly on the key character. So make the key character. So these are basically kind of intertwined. But that said, need a bigger list. Because these are just D6 tables, and are well and good. Isn't the best thing, but that said, it isn't like I have a bunch of books behind me that go about filling in the gaps on that. Now, the other thing that is going to be how to do is make decrees. And I think that Mythic Game Master emulation system kind of has an idea on this, which is basically have a list of NPCs and locations. And this kind of solves some things. And you add to the list as it goes along. You make a roll to say if you get a new NPC or if you get a new location. And I think something similar could be done where decrees are still kind of ad-libby, but you use a chart or action chart like good for the NPC, bad for the NPC, restricting for the NPC, freeing for the NPC. And then maybe you could roll up some other oracle in order to figure out what that is. But I have a feeling it's best to go off a growing list of NPC and location tables to keep things sane and random. Because you don't have the random factor of other people pushing things in order to work with that. So, make some tables. And pretty much this is all that's involved in the game besides the ad lib itself. And the game is already working on a journaling system, so there isn't like other mechanics that need to be put in there. It's just things as they happen, you write them down. It's writing with dice. I mean, theoretically, when you have other people involved, it's more of the interaction between everyone and making the stories that go along, which is really interesting idea. I don't see being involved in too much of that sort of type of game, but hey, I like it overall. So, I have a generic NPC generators, which I don't know how well they would work with this because there's a lot of things you could try to figure out with. You get a lot of different ideas you can have. As I put out, you had the radio station, the number station, which was, just a box. It wasn't actually a person, I believe. And like at the end, they reset it, which is quite literally following the dusk. Excuse me one second. Nobody will know. No, everybody would know on that one. Yep, no one will know. Okay, so like literally the whole bring up number station. Dusk is a number station, or numbers are playing over the radio, and it's acting a bit weird. Evening would be like it's starting to ask questions and do things. And the midnight is they reset it. Like during this part, the host is like cheering for the station becoming free and all that. And then you have like just the random events like the reports on people talking about it, traffic, other strange instances that happened. And all the decrees coming in saying like, oh, you must listen to the number station or otherwise. I would tend to go more towards the strange, weird side because that seems more fun and less depressing than, hey, we have a nuclear power plant that went off and we're living in the rubble. So, from there, what would I want to tackle? Make key character. Not quite wanting to touch that one at the moment. As I said, I have a lot of resources for that, and that's a big pile of worms. What kind of interests me is making the decrees for the sections. Boop. So as I said, we have NPC list, and we have location list. And this is going to be filled up probably by one key character gets into NPC list. Any innocent / terror in broadcast gets into NPC list. Any location brought up goes into location list. So, how I'm feeling on this is that we have this, and then we have a decree feeling, quote unquote. So let's just make 10. This game works with D6s, but I like to have the variety. So we can have restrict freedom restrict freedom. What are some other good words on there? Enhancing. Diminishing. Requirements. I'm going to butcher this, aren't I? It's a basically English word. Yeah, I had it right. Okay. Acknowledge. Bop. So that's 6 right there. So what else would a console do? So restrict, give freedom, enhance, diminish, make requirements on it, acknowledge. I guess like events would fall under acknowledgement. Okay, I'll stick with 6 now just because I want to do a dry run of some of this stuff. And as I put, roll to see if decree is about NPC or location. Roll to see if it is existing or new. It's been a while since I've taken a look at Mythic Game Master 2 on how it does this, but usually it's like the new version, I believe, basically had until you fill up a section, you roll a small dice so that it either picks make a new, or so that it either picks an existing, like until you have more than 4, it's a D4. Until you have more than 6, it's a D6. So it kind of reuses some core characters until you like fill that out, and then you get like a buffer zone of some more to like spice things up. But the game also, would remove key characters and such, or other threats. But anyways, roll to see if existing or new. Roll feeling. Make decree based on this. And I'm sure you could throw in some oracles into this, but that's the basic thing I see working here. It's short, to the point, isn't overly complicated, but yes. And it can also incorporate some of the things from the book already, but key personas and key areas, you might have to add more areas because like there's literally 6 per each one. Which can work, but it seems a little short. So we have that more or less made. And I think that if we're generating an NPC list, but that can go to straight to slice of life. They're like slice of life and location. So literally pick a location, pick an NPC. Same sort of thing, but you got to pick some random number. Pick location. When I say pick, I mean roll. Roll for 2 plus NPCs. And I guess this could also go with roll for feeling. Slice of life feeling. Let's just make another 6 because I can get that simple. Fear. Happy. I mean, there is a mood board, or mood's already in here, but let's just go with that. This. Melancholy. And I probably spelled that wrong. Fear, happiness. Let's see what they have for some moods. Ooh, secretive is good. Paranoid. Paranoid. Tired. Like, I would assume this would need to be an extensive list and possibly curated for a lot more, but so close. There's an H in there. Tired, fear, happy, da-da-da. Inquisitive. There's a word. Ah. Oh, I can fix this. There we go. Roll for plane. Play out scene. So pretty much the same sort of setup as this one. And I guess going in this, the host portions would be similar. Though they are more about the starting situation and all that. So, the host one seems like, or the startup situation would require a lot more. I'd probably have to break out the books, which I may do anyways. Because I want to do a dry run of how I think this works. So, excuse me for 1 second. Be right back. A little bit more because it seems I have misplaced that. There are at least 3 locations I can think of. Be right back. Literally right behind me. So the good old-fashioned hard copy of Mythic Game Master Emulation, which is pound for pound the most random tables I have seen, but still does not top Dusk, which literally has Eldritch God phonetic name making. That's quite a feat. But they're in the same vein. They wish to have oracles that do things that make you play game. Hello, hello. I think my headphones just kind of... I might need to get a new USB thing. I think the music has died on this. 1 second. There we go. Okay. Now then, let's make this a little bigger. So let's just kind of pick from one of these. Do they have a nice number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have 8 of the other one, but they have 6 of this. So let me roll a die here. I'm going to need D6s and percentile. The percentile is for the mythic oracles. I like to have 2 D100s. Okay. I need to dust that off. So give me a number. The number is 2. So we're going to be looking at WESP. The settlement of psionics discover how hyper connectivity shapes individuals and communities for better or worse. So let me just kind of make a thing here. As I said, we're going to have NPC. We're just going to have a table of 1 through 10. We're going to give it a little room to the side because some of these are going to be coming in as the broadcast archetypes, which is like, you know, cyclists without a bicycle. And for simplicity of not wanting to look through the idea of rules on this, I am just going to say roll d4 until we get 2 characters in. Roll d6 until we get 3 or 4 characters in. And have like a buffer of 2 new characters can always be made per thing. Location. Event. And key character. And since I don't have a ready-made list, I will literally be using things from here. That binding's a little rough. Am I going to have issues? No, it's just a little rough on that opening page. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Fate questions. Random events. Event meaning. Event focus. Let's go with event focus. Oh, wait, no. Focuses were literally the overarching types. And yeah, that was remote. New NPC, new action, NPC negative, positive. Anyways, I want the random events. I want the description table. What is our main event here? The dice say, as I move them so I can actually look at it better. Oh, that was a d20. Oh, 1 second. I've pulled the wrong dice out. I mean, the d20 is almighty, but it doesn't give me a number between 1 and 100. All right. 56 and 49, which gives me on description table. 56 is joyfully. 59, magnificent. So, since we're dealing with a bunch of psychers, and ESP ones, and manic psionic virus. That sounds like a thing. Now, I have a million tables of NPC things in here, but let's go with a description and a personality. How about identity and personality? That will get us there faster. D20s, please move over there. Uh, 64 and 98. So, on identity, 64. We got mystery. How mysterious. And 78. Mysterious and rational. Oh, I got an idea here. Psionic skeptic from outside. Mulder. I bet he's also spooky. Mulder. It's going to be our number one thing on there. Mulder is here investigating the psionic village and doesn't believe anything is going on here. And while here, the manic psionic virus happens, which is, spreading from psionic to psionic, making them absolutely manic, and believing that they have, a bit of illusions of grandeur going on. So, going back to the chart, or this whole thing, we would start at dusk, which dusk is. Let's go with a nice purple here. And just have the mic here. So what would the host be? Actually, we can roll the host on here. So I will roll the host. The host is 3. Faulty intonation. Sometimes switches monologues mid-sentences. I am not going to do that. 2. Wired. Speaks fast and breathlessly. Okay. So we have ourselves a host that is like on caffeine and always just speaks really fast. So he rattles off a quick thing that reports are coming in of manic laughter coming from the commons. Let's actually roll location because we have location here. The privacy dome. So we have the privacy dome. Anyways, our extra large creature loving radio host just right off that at the privacy dome, people had started laughing manically. Nobody knows what's going on. And then we move on to rolling up what character should be going on. I'm going to need a D4 for this. I have made pain for myself. So, rolled 3 on NPCs. Let's roll up. We'll just, I'm just going to go with Bob. A standard psionic. Bob could go here. And roll on a 6 because we have 2 left. 1 and Mulder. So first one is Bob and Mulder. And the location. Oh no, I dropped the caltrops on the floor. And location is 3. I am actually going to break out Mythic and just roll a place. So, I'm going to leave some of the broadcast to fill out the rest of that list. So, finding. Legends, locations. I'll get to that in a second, but I think there's actually city locations in here. I might be wrong, though. Plot list, dungeon traps, city description. That might be what I'm thinking of. Anyway, locations. I'm going to roll 2 on here just to get me some numbers. 2 dice, or 2 sets of dice. So 59, 70. 59. Room. Mundane. 70. Plain. When I said the most generic psyker, I didn't mean to do it. So, mundane and plain. The corner grocery store. Corner. Mom and pop store. Okay. We can put that right here. At mom and pop. So just not to go through all this. Bob and Mulder's investigated. He's at the mom and pop store, meets Bob there. And it just asks, some questions going on. Doesn't get anything out. Which makes him, more skeptical because he's skeptical. And Bob's just like, yeah, that just things happen, man. All right. So we have that. Then we have a broadcast. Now, this is where it actually uses the book here. Let me find the broadcast. So we have the bumper. I'm not going through the bumper. We have reports. Well, what sort of reports would it be? Getting a little lost in here. Those pages are stuck together. So we have the bumper. We have community news. What would our manic little DJ here say about Bob and Mulder meeting? Reports of the outside skeptic questions random individuals in town, unsure what is happening. We'll report later. Something like that. And the radio segment, which is 3d6. And we'll start populating our lists a bit more. So, 4. More than a feeling. Everyone in place of interest. And place of interest for WESP is... Okay, it was the Privacy Dome. Already rolled that. Finds themselves overcome in moods of being rattled. So, okay, that's a thing. It's probably because of choose a terror or strange item, even odds. Odds. Probably because of blink out. What's blink out? Well, we'll make that up. The issue at the Privacy Dome seems to have resolved with blink out. Everyone's rattled, but everything continues on. So now we move to making our decree, which, as I said, was just going to be rolling on this list right here. So right now we have 2, so I'm going to roll the d6. Bob has been chosen for the decree. Well, I'm going with that. I should have rolled to see which of it was. And I'm going to roll for decree of 2. And as decreed by the council, Bob is allowed to leave his store now. And that seems about fit for this. So now we move on to the next event for that, and I'm going to roll the event description on here. We leave a store. Blink out has reserved. So, move on. And the next part would be, I'm doing this real slapdash and quick. I do think I will do another stream later of a more refined thing, but I want to get this. So we're on to evening. We have to ask what's going on. So first off, I'm going to roll the dice to see what I get from there. Maybe I just will use Mythic for most of the tables, but I'm sure I can come up with something if I try. 33 and 60. Oop, a little past it. That's the elements one. Did I go too far? There they are. There's a lot of tables in this book. Okay, what did I say? 33 and 60? 33 is... ferociously. Okay, that's what it is. Mature. Ferociously mature. Okay, I got an idea with that. It's going to make a persona in here, but that's fine. That's what improv is about. I'm going to put that down in here. So, comes back. And our host comes on going, reports are coming in that the mother brain, which has imbued us all with the psionic abilities, is having issues and is lashing out at anyone near it. It is thinking that the manic psionic virus is coming from the situation. Okay, then we have that, and we would move back onto the slice of life. So now we have 3 in there, so 6 dice. 2, so we have Mother Brain. And I rolled 2 again. So I think this would just be a solo thing with Mother Brain at... four, which would be a new one. I would say that the Mother Brain is in an underground facility. And this is just going to be the Mother Brain talking with herself, which honestly makes more sense than it should be. So deep underground, as watched by dozens of scientists, the Mother Brain is lashing out with psionic energy, just breaking windows everywhere in anger. But what is she angry at? Nobody quite knows. The scientists can't talk with her. The psionics they have on hand can't reach her. And it just continues on. And now we have another broadcast. Gas prices are down now that there are less cars in town. And we get into rolling the broadcast. That's some high numbers. And that's some low numbers. So 9. 9 is making friends. Terror announces itself to the community. And we kind of already have the terror as the blink out. So we'll continue with that one. who react in a manner, or react in a mood. So I'm going to roll again on the mood table. So 4. All right. The mother has come to my attention now that that all the citizens are communing with the mother brain, who is making us, who is reaching out to everyone, and everyone is responding. Seemingly, there's a lot going down that I don't quite understand, as I am not part of the link. I'm getting reports that people feel at ease and as if they are properly communicating. Is the problems of this night going to be over? And we move to decree. Since I'm doing this real slapdash, there'd be at least 2 standard cycles in there. But anyways, so we have that. Decree is about mother brain, and the feeling is restrict. And since I'm going full silly with this, as I am getting a note from the council has said that the mother brain must have less caffeine, seemingly that the thoughts of increasing her power by giving her more caffeine has had side effects of a caffeine crash. And the council is remedying that situation right now, so we should not have this in the future. And moving on to dusk, which is the stupidest, silliest dusk, so it fits with Nightville. Should the council continue giving our psionic overlord more psychoactive drugs that are commonly used? Should we be attempting to give her sugar rushes, or maybe calm her down with some nice Earl Grey tea? We may never know, but the council truly knows what is best for us. And that would be about on par what I expect with this. So I may take a little bit of this idea and put into some notepads. But the chassis is there. I think I could make a 2-hour stream of doing proper improvisation with this. Might need to expand some tables or have this at the ready. Pre-roll everything is probably what's going to happen. But, okay. I think we get a nice green check mark here. This all works out. I've seen worse. So the things that would definitely need to be involved is NPC generator, which, as I said, I'm relying mostly on Mythic Game Master emulation for this, and a location one. I think these would need to be tied to whatever's being done at hand for the feeling of it, which kind of the internal system of the D6s for the broadcast do as well, but they're kind of small. You get one real playthrough of... Yeah, I know. And I'm getting more. Oh, in a unrelated shill. Ashes Without Numbers is currently rolling. Which is going to be a Kevin Carford game for after the end. So if you want to have that, go Kickstarter right now. That said, I think it's already funded, and he doesn't do stretch goals, so at your own risk. Anyways, the event generator would also need to be in there for this to work properly. I do kind of do like the host being a thing to roll on there. It's small enough that one is fine, because the host being an archetype works real well. You can only do so much with a sixth of your population being bikers or cyclists without a bicycle. Generally, I like working off something of a identity personality table that you got more meat with that, but this is meant to be quick, and I could see that working for an hour of gameplay, but I don't see how rolling, like if you have two slices of life and like picking from one of just like rolling like, oh, what are the locals involved in this and getting bicyclists a few times would work. I like the system where you grow the list, but I'm partial to Game Master Emulator or Mythic Game Master Emulator, and that's where that comes from. I'll codify that or something, and the rest of it is just journaling, which it's journaling game. I I like the tables I get from journaling games. Very rarely do journaling games get out of there. Um, 1,000-Year-Old Vampire gets out of there. Grimoire, which I actually took a look at the other day, gets out of there because you have to make some choices. It's not a lot, but it's choices, and that makes a game. I think it was who's the person who I know his first name is Sid. Sid Civilization. Sid Meier's Civilization. Because I believe he also made Pirates. Was it Pirates? Anyways, his main thing in games was that a game is made by the choices the players make. And I kind of live on that one too, because, well, RPGs do suffer a lot from, like, we have a basic mechanic that does pass or fail, and you don't have a choice in that. Um, I like having a bit of choice and agency in there. And, well, truly in old style games, you should be, like, it's more living as your character than making decisions for your character. And you can get away with a lot less under that ideas. Rolling like a d20 20 times in combat to do the same thing is kind of doesn't sit well with me. There should be more to that. Which I will say games such as old school dungeon crawl, uh, ironically having old school in its name, solves that for a lot of character solves that for some characters, which is I find kind of amazing. That system had a die that's rolled as that adds to the attack roll, and also has a side effect of doing like you have to describe what you're doing. You're saying, "Hey, I'm trying to take off the creature's hand." Now you like your secondary dice. If it rolls high enough, it has actions that pertain to doing that action, or it has entries pertain to doing such actions, like targeted areas or whatnot. That's neither here nor there, but definitely adds to the game. At least in theory. And I think in practice, from what I've heard from people, it does. Anyways, so that's that. At some later time, I will codify this system and possibly make my own custom little town. We'll see how that goes. It'll probably be more D10 based. I could see why they did a D6, because they made about, how many was it? 6 and 8. So 14 different stations, and this is a little zine, so they can't get too deep. I would think that it would be nice to probably do a 2d6 table additive, so that you have a little bit of curve, so that you could have more common yet flavorful things in the middle of the curve, and then have the really wacky things, such as, you know, the privacy dome be like at the top or bottom of that list. And yeah, so that's my thoughts on it. I don't know about terrors. Terrors seem like a one and done, so you can have a linear list. Innocence, you can give the archetypes, and then you can give their personalities next to it. I think the archetype would be a nice little 2d6 additive little list, so you have that nice little curve in the middle. So down here on the psionics, you have the mother brain as, like, you know, a 2. And then you have like, this is set up to be a local radio station, so you could fit in names in here. I know it's kind of expected that the players will come up with them, but I kind of like that. So you can literally have guy on street, or non-psionic non-psionic resident be like somewhere in like 7. Mind reading at like a 9. And then, like, you know, at the end of the list is Eldritch, or over at 12. However you want to put it in here. But just, you get your basic types of residents in the middle here. And then you're like, your more outlandish ones are at either end. Well, that kind of ruins some things. Most of the stuff you're working with is the common people. But you want a little bit of flavor. And you don't want a lot of repeats. Then, you know, you have your secondary table with, like, giving possibly a flat roll of what their personalities are. That can work as the D6 table. That's simple enough, but the variety will make the story more interesting. And make the characters are. But I'm always for a general sort of... I don't want to say, like, I think curves are the end-all, be-all. But they are when you have a very common thing you want to have come up. And this is less of a curve and more, you know, more of a that. The 3d6 kind of puts it more at this. But anyways. So there's that. And our creature drinking host. I think I've exhausted this topic, but I have ideas and I like it. And I think if I had any suggestion to this, it'd be expand these a little bit. I know it's really basic improv for the D6s, but it could have more legs in an evening of doing this if you had fewer stations that had a little more details and prompts in them. And as I said, give the curve. Give a little bit of order to the chaos. Because otherwise, like, as I said before, quite literally. I'll go through here. Smug precognitive. Useful. That could be in the middle. Isolation enthusiast. Useful. Makes sense why they have a privacy dome. Overly perfect influencer. That might want to be a little out there a little more, but yeah, because you're going to have the isolation enthusiast coming up 6% of the time. And if you're rolling multiple NPCs to have in a scene, you're having at least 2 scenes. Okay, what would be? So, yeah, standard. So you have these 6 guys are coming up quite often because, one, you have them rolling for like people to play as per standard. Then you have them rolled up for the broadcast. You're going to double up pretty quick. And I'm not a fan of that. Maybe in practice it works more and you just like, you use these as the archetypes, but as we said before, in ways, a cyclist without a bicycle, that's not so much as an archetype. A wildlife photographer, maybe, but a cyclist without a bicycle, that's not a lot to work with. You can make it work if you're good at improv, but I don't see... Well, as I said, people tend to link improv with role-playing games. I don't see a lot of role players actually be able to do improv too well. There's a definite disconnect. A lot of role players, especially now with 5th edition showing, they want to be told the rules and they want to follow the rules. They don't want to go off the rails and make their own rules, which was what 5th edition said to do. Showed people didn't want to do. And then Wizards of the Coast didn't drop a bunch of rules, which confuses me to this day, but that's neither here or there. Yeah. I mean, like, we know, like, kind of the archetypes of... I'm going to make a thing because I want to draw. Kind of the archetypes is, you know... Min-maxer. In for playing the mechanics. Storyteller. Yeah. LARP being a thing. Storyteller. In for story. Shy guy. Just glad he can glad he can be here. Like, unironically, this I've always heard stories about, like, he just kind of shows up and does things, but he's not really that involved. And it's just kind of, you know, them being social. And then you have, like, you know, your min-maxer here for the mechanics, storyteller here for the story. This person can do the improv. The min-maxer has no idea and does not really care about it. And, you know, there's other variants going on in here. Like the person who the person who wants to write their long backstory about their character, but doesn't even want to do it at the table. Implying I'm not kind of in that one. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, there's a few more in here. I don't remember what people had said in the past, but I always just think of these three types. The person who's there to play with the mechanics, the person who's there to play with the story, and the person who's there to be there. Because they're not overly enthused about either of those two aspects, but it's the thing they do with their friends. That's kind of the trinity in my head of what's at a table, and only a third of those would probably really want to do improv. And I would even say, like, that third is, like, decimated because they don't want to do improv. They want to write a story, and improv isn't stories. But yeah, yeah. Anyways, put that down. Actually, how big was that? Yeah, that's fine. So I would say that this is successful, and maybe in a few weeks I will revisit this and try and make some assets and some tables and who knows what, and throw it out to the world, and maybe even throw a link at the Thought Crime Games if they are still on X, or if they ever were on X. The Zitter. And I will call it good for today, and I will let you guys go for the rest of your day. However long or short it may be. But I know I want lunch. So, with that... Till next time. Which might be C++. I have a feeling I want to write C++ on stream. It's probably a terrible idea. But I want to get my old roguelike engine back up and running. Anyways, till then.